AITA for keeping the hidden USB after my ex thought she erased the evidence? My wife was caught diverting prescription medication from her hospice care patients, intending to repackage and sell it illegally. Consequently, I had to invest nearly everything I had to secure sole custody of our 14-year-old daughter, Paige. 12 months and tens of thousands of dollars later, my ex-wife, Brenda, was only granted supervised visitation rights. Clients like to track their progress, you see. Right around the time of our divorce, Paige had started a healthy meal prep business for overwhelmed students at her high school. I was so proud of her entrepreneurial spirit, but I was a teenager once, too, and I know how to recognize when someone is hiding something from their parents. That weekend, while Paige was at her mother's for a court-mandated visit, I did something I am still a bit ashamed of. I searched her room. What I found made me sick. Dozens of spiral notebooks, detailed meal plans with terrifyingly low caloric intakes. Day 1, 500 calories. Day 7, 200 calories, with the note, juice cleanse only. One notebook listed clients' starting and current weights, formatted like a competitive leaderboard. That is when I saw her MacBook lying on her bed and, on a gut feeling, decided to check it. That is how I found Venmo transactions totaling nearly $8,000. I saw screenshots of a Discord group called Paige's Angels with over 11,000 members. Inside, there were channels with resources to curb hunger, tips for surviving on minimal intake, and a comparison chart of the most effective laxative brands. It was a support system where everyone fueled each other's disordered eating. I could not understand how she had managed to hide all of this from me for so long, until I read her text conversations with her mother. That is where I found the message that made me see red. Do you remember our deal? 30% of the profits, or I call Child Protective Services and tell them your father has been inappropriate with you. Suddenly, the new clothes from Urban Outfitters and Brandy Melville made a sickening kind of sense. I heard the garage door open and quickly put everything back in its place. My little girl, the one who used to bake chocolate chip cookies with me to hand out to the neighbors, was now running a business that promoted dangerous eating habits. Girls were ending up in the hospital. What if one of them had a serious medical event? What if Paige faced legal consequences? When she walked in, I was sitting at the kitchen table. Her meal plan notebook was spread out in front of me. Her face went pale. Dad, I can explain everything. Honey, we need to talk, I interrupted, keeping my voice soft despite the horror churning inside me. Help me understand how all this started. She broke down in tears. I didn't want to do this, but Mom said that if I didn't make her money, she would tell the court you were creating an unsafe environment for me. She's the one who taught me everything. How to spot vulnerable girls. How to push them to compare their weights. How to phrase things so it wouldn't be technically illegal. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Since the divorce, I had been working so much that I forgot to truly be there for my Paige, and now I was paying the price. A serious incident had landed one girl in the hospital because she believed she was too heavy, and the whole thing made me dizzy. On impulse, I called my ex-wife to try and reason with her one last time. I expected an apology or at least some semblance of shame, but she just laughed. Oh, she told you about our little business? Be careful, Adam. I have recordings of you having a drink during your work-from-home meetings. A little creative editing and you'll look like an irresponsible parent at school events. Instead of involving the police, which could have ruined Paige's future, I did everything to get her into intensive therapy. I cut back my hours at work to be there every day when she got home from school. Brenda escalated her threats. She would park her car down the street from our house, file baseless complaints with the school administration, and tell our extended family that I was feeding Paige's entrepreneurial delusions. The first few weeks were brutal. Paige barely spoke, crushed by the guilt of having caused harm to other girls. By the second month, she started opening up in therapy about her mother's manipulation. By the third month, she asked me if we could cook healthy meals together, real meals with normal calorie counts. I was making her a high-calorie recovery smoothie when someone knocked on the door. It was Child Protective Services, or CPS. I answered and found Diane Foster, a CPS agent with tired eyes holding a clipboard, standing on my porch. Behind her, Brenda was holding her phone up, recording everything with a smug smile that made my blood run cold. Mr. Morrison, Diane said, We've received reports of child endangerment regarding a business promoting unhealthy lifestyles being run from this home. My mind was racing, but I kept my voice calm. Paige is upstairs. She's getting ready for her therapy appointment. I glanced at Brenda, who mouthed "game over" behind the agent's back. Something about her outfit bothered me. It was the exact same blazer and skirt she had worn years earlier during another unfounded investigation she had initiated. Diane walked in, her eyes scanning the kitchen. The protein powder and recovery smoothie ingredients I was preparing for Paige were still on the counter. Brenda tapped on her screen. A few seconds later, I heard Paige's phone vibrate upstairs. She appeared at the top of the stairs, still in her pajamas, and froze when she saw her mother. I immediately noticed the long sleeves. It was 80 degrees outside, and she was hiding the bruises on her arm from the fall during her hospitalization last week, the one Brenda knew nothing about, because Paige had begged me not to tell her. "I need to speak with Paige alone," Diane said, placing her clipboard on the kitchen table. Paige ran down the stairs and grabbed my hand. "Can my dad stay?" "She's obviously being influenced," Brenda interjected from the doorway. Diane's eyes scanned the room, hesitating. Brenda jumped at the opportunity. "Paige, honey, tell Ms. Foster how Dad helped you set up the business on his computer." My phone started vibrating nonstop. 3 parents whose daughters had been hospitalized. My lawyer, Dr. Sharma, Paige's therapist, all texting me not to let Paige speak without legal representation. I glanced at the screen, then at Diane. "Actually, Paige has a therapy appointment in 20 minutes. I showed her the appointment confirmation on my phone. Brenda's face darkened. She knew I had just rescheduled it. "I have screenshots," she announced, pulling a folder from her designer bag. "The Discord server shows Adam's IP address linked to admin actions during his work hours." The doorbell rang. Brenda opened it before I could move. It was Brooke's mother standing there, her eyes red with anger. Brenda's smile faltered a bit. She had clearly expected Paige to be removed from the house immediately. In my home office, Diane sat down across from me. "Brooke's mother also filed a complaint," she said, opening her file. "What's curious is that both complaints use identical legal phrasing. I noticed her wedding ring glinting under the light. The unusual Celtic design looked familiar, but I could not quite place it. Through the thin walls, I heard Brenda's voice in the living room. "Do you remember that camping trip? Right before your dad's work stress got really bad." She had to be showing Paige pictures on her phone. Pictures I thought I had deleted from our shared cloud storage years ago. My work phone rang. I let it go to voicemail, but Diane heard my boss's message. "Adam, we need to discuss the situation regarding your daughter's clients. I've received some concerning emails with screenshots." The doorbell rang again. Dr. Sharma's voice echoed from the entrance, but Brenda's voice drowned everything out. "She's not certified for crisis interventions." I checked. How did Brenda know that specific detail about Paige's therapist? Diane pulled a printed email from her file. "Ms. Morrison provided documents proving the business was registered with your home IP address." She pointed at the timestamp. "This was sent during your work presentation last Tuesday." Panic tightened my throat. "Look at Paige's arms. She was hospitalized last week for malnutrition. She's a victim, too." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Paige had begged me to keep that a secret. I heard Paige's hurried footsteps on the stairs, then her bedroom door slam. Brenda's voice rose in the living room, a performance of a mother praying for her daughter to heal after the hospitalization forced upon her by her father. An Instagram story notification chimed on my phone. Through the window, I saw the neighbors peeking from their yards. More cars were arriving. Brenda's boyfriend Mark's BMW, 2 other CPS vehicles, and a car with press credentials hanging from the rearview mirror. Diane kept taking notes while Brenda's voice went up a notch in the living room. She was showing a binder to someone. "I've documented every disturbing incident. Paige's weight loss, her strange behaviors, the isolation tactics Adam uses." Dr. Sharma tried to come in through the back door, but Mark intercepted her. His voice was low but threatening. "The therapist who was left alone for months with a distressed teenager wants to get involved now." I pulled out my phone to show Diane Paige's therapy records. "Look, this documents Brenda's manipulation and threats." Diane's expression changed slightly. She had seen this dynamic before, but Brenda was ready. "Are those the sessions where Adam drove her and waited outside?" Brenda yelled from the next room, apparently knowing exactly what I was showing Diane. Who knows what he told her to say? My laptop was on the desk. Brenda's old email account was still logged in from the days when we shared our finances. I could search for evidence of her broader network, but accessing it would technically be illegal. Diane's phone buzzed. I need to interview Paige now, she said, standing up. In Paige's room, Brenda was sitting on the bed, stroking our daughter's hair. I know Dad means well, but do you remember when he missed your school play because of work? Paige's diary was open on her nightstand. Brenda had been reading it. Diane requested that both of us be present for the interview. Brenda kept accidentally mentioning events that had never happened. Do you recall when Dad forgot to pick you up from dance class and you had to walk home in the rain? Paige looked lost. She had never taken dance classes. My phone vibrated. An email notification. A draft email I did not remember writing was in my outbox. Paige is getting too skinny, but the business is too profitable. Stop. Brooke arrived with her mother, blinking rapidly, her tell when she was lying. Paige said her dad knew about the meal plans, but that they needed the money. Brenda pulled out her phone. I have a voicemail Adam left after a business dinner. She put it on speaker. My slightly slurred voice filled the room. Paige, honey, sorry I missed dinner again. Make yourself something healthy. Taken completely out of context. Diane checked her phone. An emergency custody hearing has been set for Thursday. In 48 hours. Brenda had already filed a 50-page legal document. The timestamp showed it had been prepared weeks in advance. I excused myself to go to the bathroom, but I went to my office instead. Paige's Discord password was saved in my browser. She had asked me to save it for emergencies. The messages loaded, revealing conversations between Brenda and other moms, training documents, profit-sharing agreements, a local network of mothers in the city. Brenda was teaching other mother-daughter duos her business model. Dr. Sharma appeared in the doorway of my office. Her face was pale. Adam, I have to tell you something. She stopped short when she saw my computer screen displaying Brenda's network. She offered me a job, Dr. Sharma whispered, at a clinic owned by Mark's family, starting next month. I declined, but she knows things about my own daughter's struggles. My fingers flew across the keyboard, taking screenshots of everything. The training videos showed Brenda demonstrating psychological manipulation techniques, using Paige as an example. A video titled Creating Competition for Maximum Profit made my blood boil. I sent everything to my lawyer. His reply came immediately. Delete everything. Brenda filed a temporary restraining order during the CPS visit. By accessing her communications, you are in violation. The timestamp on the order showed 2:47 p.m., the exact time of Diane's arrival. Dr. Sharma's phone rang. She answered, her face falling as she listened. I understand, she said softly. Conflict of interest? Yes, I will send the withdrawal letter today. She hung up and looked at me, tears in her eyes. I can no longer be Paige's therapist. I am so sorry. Through the window, I saw more cars arriving. Parents from Paige's school were gathering on my lawn. Some held signs. Protect our girls, read one of them. A group notification popped up from a group called Justice for Victims. The messages were divided. Half held me responsible for allowing the situation to happen. The other half demanded Brenda's prosecution. Several mentioned class action lawsuits. One parent, a school board member, suggested that Paige should go into foster care, away from both of us. My phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. A photo of Paige crying in her room appeared on the screen. She is safer with her mother. Stop fighting, or it will get worse. In the reflection of Paige's window, I saw Mark holding his phone at the perfect angle. I ran to Paige's room where Diane was wrapping up the interview. Brenda was smiling softly. I made a proposal through my lawyer. Adam can drop everything. Let him give me sole custody, and I will make sure Paige gets proper treatment at Serenity Meadows. Serenity Meadows, the facility Mark's family owned. The one with 3 pending lawsuits for patient mistreatment. No, I said firmly. Brenda's lawyer must have been listening because within minutes, a notification popped up in the parents' group. The father refuses treatment for his sick daughter. He is more concerned with winning than healing. Diane gathered her papers. The emergency custody hearing is set for Thursday, in 48 hours. She looked at us in turn. I advise both of you to be well prepared. After everyone left, I sat in Paige's empty room. At Diane's suggestion, she had gone to spend the night at my sister Megan's house. Her old freshman year diary was sitting on the shelf. I opened it, my hands shaking. The entries dating back 2 months before the divorce made my blood run cold. Brenda was already talking to her about calories, good and bad foods. The business had not corrupted her. Brenda had conditioned her for months while we were still married. My phone rang. 3 different mothers with similar stories. Brenda had approached them to franchise her model with their daughters. Training documents for $500, monthly coaching calls, a percentage of the profits. She said you agreed to it. One of them told me that you were helping with the technical side. My lawyer called me right after. Adam, I have to be honest. Brenda never really fought during the divorce. I thought she was just exhausted, but in hindsight, she wanted you to have custody while she built her network. Everything became clear. The half-hearted custody battle. The easy victory I thought I had won. Brenda had orchestrated it all. That night, I created a fake profile, a worried mom of a girl with an eating disorder. Within hours, I was accepted into Brenda's private training group. The videos were horrifying. In them, Brenda taught the mothers how to spot vulnerable girls, how to create competition among them, and how to word everything to avoid legal liability. But I crossed a line. I downloaded those videos and edited them, adding context to make her look even worse, highlighting the cruelest moments, adding subtitles that slightly distorted her words. I told myself it was for Paige, for all the girls, but I knew I was becoming what I hated. The next morning, I met Dr. Sharma at a coffee shop. Her daughter was in the car, a clear signal. I need to know the truth, I said softly. That day, Brenda knew about my daughter's past struggles. She said she would expose her if I didn't support her story. Adam, I had no choice. We always have a choice, I replied coldly. I know the truth about your daughter. Tell the truth, or I will reveal why you really withdrew from Paige's case. Those words tasted like poison. Dr. Sharma's reply arrived an hour later by email. You have become just like Brenda now. The email had been sent during what should have been my own therapy session, the one I had been neglecting since all this started. But my threat was useless anyway. Brenda's lawyer revealed that Dr. Sharma had already provided a statement in her favor weeks earlier, anticipating this exact scenario. That evening, Paige sent me a message from Megan's house. Maybe Mom's method works better. At least she's honest about using people. Those words pierced me like a blade. I went to an apartment building owned by Brenda's boyfriend. He owned several properties in the city. I told him I needed a place close to the courthouse for the hearings. He agreed, surely because Brenda wanted to be able to keep an eye on me. The apartment overlooked the window of Paige's bedroom in our house. That night, I searched the apartment. In a locked filing cabinet, I found receipts for bulk purchases of laxatives, client lists with the minors' ages and target weights, and profit charts showing over $200,000 in revenue across the network. Mark was supplying the products and taking his cut, but the worst part was Brooke. She was not a repentant victim. She had been Brenda's first recruit, trained to infiltrate Paige's circle of friends. When profits dropped, Brenda ordered her to expose the whole thing, knowing it would lead to this exact moment. I found an old message I had sent to Paige months ago. So proud of your business success. I love seeing you take the initiative. Your entrepreneurial spirit impresses me. While I was praising her business sense, she was wasting away right before my eyes. Brenda would use every single one of those messages against me. Paige's old dollhouse sat in a corner of the apartment, filled with items Brenda had taken during the divorce. Inside, hidden in the miniature attic, was a USB drive. Paige's real evidence, hidden from both her parents. But to get it, I had manipulated Lily, Brenda's younger daughter, during a visit. I had asked her to show me Paige's hiding spots, playing it off as a game. She had been so excited to help me, having no idea she was betraying her sister. Lily had already lost a significant amount of weight. She would be Brenda's next project, and I had used her anyway. That night, I found Paige's real diary in the dollhouse. The truth was worse than anything. Paige had started restricting her food on her own before Brenda got involved. Brenda had discovered her disorder and turned it into a business model. I stood there, diary in hand, wondering if I could add entries to it, making Brenda look like a direct cause instead of an opportunist. Who would know? Paige had not written in it for months. I picked up a pen and started mimicking her handwriting. Mom told me I would be worthless if I gained weight. I was becoming the monster she said I was. My phone rang. My boss. Adam, I am sorry. We have proof that you accessed a private account from your work computer. It is grounds for immediate termination. No severance. Your health insurance ends on Friday. The walls were closing in. Every action I had taken to protect Paige gave Brenda a new weapon. Every little victory created a new vulnerability. The judge ordered psychological evaluations for all parties. The appointed psychologist was Dr. Evelyn Reed. A simple search showed that she was Brenda's cousin by marriage. Brenda must have known this from the start when she chose this jurisdiction. I drove past the courthouse where I had won custody a year earlier, the same building where everything would end in 2 days. But this time, Brenda would be sitting in my seat, and I would have to fight just to still have access to my daughter. My sister Megan called me. Adam, I love you, but I have to ask, did you ever consider that Paige might have started all this on her own? That she blamed her mom to protect you? I remember her secret dieting in her freshman year before the divorce. Even Megan was starting to doubt me. The parent alliance shifted by the hour. Those whose daughters were getting better supported me. Those whose daughters were still sick held me responsible for letting Brenda operate. The lawyers circled like sharks, coordinating without their clients' consent, sensing opportunities for financial settlements with both of us. My resources were exhausted. Credit cards maxed out between legal fees and Paige's care. No job, no income. My lawyer demanded a new retainer that I could not pay. I tried to see Paige at school during her lunch break, but Brenda showed up with a meal supervision order. I was escorted off the premises. The paperwork had been filed weeks in advance, ready for this moment. My name had been removed as an emergency contact, replaced by Mark's. That night, I slept in my car, parked down the street from Megan's house. Just before midnight, the porch light flickered twice. Our old signal to say, I am okay, but she was not okay. Neither of us was. The following morning, Brenda sent me a photo. Paige and Lily at a breakfast table. On Lily's plate, 3 strawberries and a glass of water. Caption, teaching healthy habits to the next generation. I called CPS to report a concern for Lily's well-being, but it backfired on me. The report was dismissed as coming from a vindictive father making false accusations. My credibility was officially destroyed. The report noted that Lily seemed to be developing an unhealthy focus on food and her weight. Perhaps a projection of her father's own issues. 2 hours later, Lily was hospitalized for dehydration. Brenda immediately blamed my harassment for causing both of her daughter's illnesses. The hospital social worker, overwhelmed with cases, noted that both parents were problematic and recommended removing both Paige and Lily from our custody. The final blow came from Paige herself. She had been building her own case for 3 months. She had recorded each of us. Hours of audio where I promised to fix everything while ignoring her depression. Hours of Brenda teaching her how to monetize suffering. We had both abandoned her. She had hired her own lawyer with the money from the business, not to support either of us, but to represent herself. The custody hearing was tomorrow. Brenda had her network, her documentation, her psychologist cousin. I only had the truth, and even that was tainted by my desperate actions. I had become exactly what Brenda said I was, a father so obsessed with winning that he lost sight of what really mattered. Paige did not need me to win. She needed me to be the father I was before all this, the one who baked cookies with her, the one who trusted her. But it was too late now. We were all too broken, too deeply bogged down in this war to remember what peace looked like. Tomorrow, a judge would decide our fates, but in reality, we had already decided them ourselves. The business Brenda had taught Paige to build had destroyed us all. The real product was not the meal plans or the weight loss. It was the devastation, packaged and sold to vulnerable girls by the ones who were supposed to protect them. And tomorrow, everyone would see what we had become in our struggle to prove we were the better parent. My lawyer's voice was grim on the phone. The footage from the hidden camera in the stuffed animal, Brenda's team submitted it yesterday. The pages from the forged diary, you questioning an 8-year-old child. Adam, it looks very bad. There is something else, he added. Dr. Reed's evaluation has arrived. She recommends supervised visits for both of you. Through the courthouse windows, I spotted Brenda arriving with her whole entourage, Mark, her lawyer, and several parents from the support group. She had dressed Paige in a conservative outfit that made her look younger, more vulnerable. Paige's eyes were red, glued to the floor. The courtroom filled up quickly. Parents from both sides, reporters from the local paper, and social services agents. Diane Foster sat in the back row, her expression unreadable. I noticed she was no longer wearing her wedding ring. Judge Wallace opened the hearing. Brenda's lawyer began, painting me as a negligent father who had allowed his daughter to start a dangerous business while dealing with a drinking problem. The hidden camera footage was projected onto the screen, showing me forging a diary, me asking Lily questions about hiding spots. My face looked monstrous in the grainy video. Then came the parents' testimonies. One by one, they recounted their daughter's hospitalizations, the medical bills, the ongoing therapies. Brooke's mother broke down describing how she had found her daughter unconscious on the bathroom floor. Each story was another nail in my coffin. Brenda then took the stand. She was the very picture of maternal concern. She admitted knowing about the business, but claimed she had tried to protect Paige from my reaction. I knew Adam would overreact and traumatize her further. I was trying to handle the situation delicately. During cross-examination, my lawyer revealed the network, the training videos, and the profit sharing. But Brenda had an answer for everything. She was gathering evidence. She was protecting other girls by teaching their mothers how to spot the signs. Every damning fact was twisted into an act of heroism. During a recess, Paige's lawyer approached me in the hallway. A young woman named Ms. Jessica Riley. "Paige wants to speak with you before testifying," she said. I met Paige in a small conference room. She looked much older than her 14 years. "I am going to tell them everything," she stated calmly. "About Mom's network, about your lies, about how both of you used me. Paige, I don't want to live with either of you." Her voice was firm, resolute. "Aunt Megan said I could stay with her. She's been sober for 2 years. She understands what it is like to hit rock bottom." That revelation hit me like a physical blow. Megan, whom I had always judged as unstable, had quietly rebuilt her life while I was destroying mine. Back in the courtroom, Paige took the stand. Her testimony was devastating in its clarity. She detailed Brenda's manipulation tactics, the threats, and the business model. But she did not spare me either. The signs I had missed, my praises of her entrepreneurial spirit while she was starving, the way I had focused on winning to the point of no longer seeing her. "My parents love me," she said, looking directly at the judge. "But right now, their love is toxic. They need to fix themselves before they can be my parents again." She played audio recordings from her phone. 3 months of evidence. Brenda teaching her how to target insecure girls with wealthy parents. Me promising to fix everything, while just escalating the fight. We were both using her pain as ammunition. The room was silent. It was my turn to testify. I confessed everything. The forged diary entries, manipulating Lily, accessing Brenda's emails, the threats toward Dr. Sharma, every desperate and terrible thing I had done in the name of protecting Paige. I kept telling myself it was for her. I said, my voice breaking. But somewhere along the way, it became a war against Brenda, an obsession with being right. I lost sight of what Paige actually needed. Brenda's lawyer tried to spin my confession as another manipulation, but the damage was already done. We had both revealed ourselves as unfit parents. Dr. Reed testified about her evaluation. Despite being related to Brenda, her report was ruthless toward both of us. Both parents display narcissistic tendencies and flawed emotional boundaries. They are locked in a toxic dynamic that is causing severe psychological harm to their daughter. The final witness was unexpected. Lily, Brenda's younger daughter, had been brought in by her father, Brenda's first ex-husband. She was in a wheelchair, still weak from her hospitalization. "Mom told me I was getting pretty," Lily whispered into the microphone. "She said 3 strawberries for breakfast would make me beautiful like Paige." Brenda finally broke. She burst into sobs, reaching her arms out to Lily, but her ex-husband pulled the wheelchair back. He, too, had documented everything, preparing his own custody filing. Judge Wallace ordered a brief recess. When we returned, Paige was sitting with Megan in the gallery. My sister looked different. Healthier, clear-eyed. She was holding Paige's hand tightly. The judge's decision was swift and comprehensive. Emergency custody was granted to Megan, pending a home evaluation. Brenda was taken into custody, charged with child endangerment and multiple counts of fraud. The evidence of the network was too overwhelming. I received supervised visitation rights, 2 hours a week at a certified center. Both parents will undergo intensive therapy for a minimum of 2 years before any custody reevaluation, stated Judge Wallace. Paige Morrison has shown remarkable strength and clarity in an impossible situation. The priority of this court is her safety and healing. As the bailiff led Brenda away, she cast one last glance at Paige. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," she mouthed. Paige looked away. The courtroom emptied slowly. Parents hugged their daughters tight. Lawyers exchanged business cards. The reporter scribbled his notes for a small piece in the next day's local section. Parents' bitter feud over teens' diet business ends in lost custody. Outside, I watched Megan help Paige get into the car. My sister turned to me before getting behind the wheel. 2 years, Adam. Get your act together. She will need her father someday. A real father. She drove off, leaving me alone on the courthouse steps. My phone vibrated. An email from my former company's HR department. An irregularity found in my expense reports from last year. More legal trouble to come. I walked to my car, passing a group of girls from Paige's high school. They were whispering, pointing fingers at me, but I kept walking. Tomorrow, I would start looking for work, probably in construction, something physical, something honest. That evening, I sat in my empty house. Paige's room was untouched. Her recovery smoothie was still in the fridge. I pulled out my phone and searched for a therapist specializing in family trauma. I booked the first available appointment for next week. 2 years. Megan was right. Paige would need her father someday. Not the father who forged evidence and threatened people. Not the father obsessed with winning to the point of forgetting what he was fighting for. But maybe, by putting in the work, I could become the father she deserved. Brenda would be released on bail in a few days. I knew it. Her network was already starting to collapse as the mothers turned on each other. The girls were slowly healing or sinking further. The damage was done. All we could do now was try to heal. I thought about calling Paige, then I remembered I was not allowed to. I looked up the time for a local Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. My drinking had crossed a line from social a long time ago. Small steps towards someone Paige could believe in again. The house was empty, but for the first time in months, it also felt peaceful. The war was over. We had all lost. Now came the hardest part, learning to live in the ruins. Comment. I believe we all reach a point where we have to stop trying to win and start trying to heal. It is easy to get lost in a cycle of hurt, but true strength lies in recognizing when our actions are no longer serving the people we love. I hope you see that protecting your peace and maintaining healthy boundaries are not just choices, but essential parts of survival. We owe it to ourselves and our families to take responsibility for our mistakes without letting them define our entire future. Sometimes the hardest battle is not against someone else, but against the person we become when we are pushed to our limits. Kindness begins with how we treat our own souls, making room for growth and for a second chance to become better. I encourage you to choose the path of quiet integrity over the loud, need to be right in a broken situation. Every small step towards self-reflection is a giant leap toward creating a safer world for the next generation. Let us focus on building bridges of trust instead of walls of resentment. You deserve a life defined by peace and genuine connection, and it is never too late to begin that journey. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.